Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Black Logic. So, President Joe Biden is facing backlash as his administration scrambles to address the ongoing border crisis. Overnight, reports emerged about an emergency meeting in the White House, sparked by a record breaking number of crossings over the last month. Republicans are doubling down, blaming Biden lax policies for creating chaos, while Democrats argue it's the GOP obstructing meaningful immigration reform. One thing for sure, this issue isn't going away, and it could very well define Biden's presidency like it already has. It states here that outgoing ICE director says Biden absolutely should have acted sooner to tighten the border. So there's a lot of things about immigration right now as President Trump is about to be sworn in on inauguration on January 20th. So in a surprising twist, most Senate Democrats team up with Republicans. That's the so-called bipartisan that we've all been waiting for, to push forward a contentious bill that seeks to ramp up the deportation of illegal immigrants that are accused of crimes. This unusual alliance underscores the escalating urgency surrounding immigration control and public safety debates in the Capitol. So finally, we have Democrats coming on board stating, yes, we do support you deporting those illegal, violent criminals first, but we're not too sure we are on tape for the rest of the illegal immigrants altogether, but more to come with that. But at least they're on board of deporting the illegal immigrants that are committing crimes in America, most egregious crimes in America, especially named after the bill Laken Riley. I know you guys are familiar with that story, but nonetheless, this is one of the bills they're using to deport a lot of these violent criminals outside of our country. Because in a plot straight out of a political theater, advisors to former President Trump, President-elect Donald Trump, has been on months. They've been looking for a new health crisis, hoping it could justify shutting down the southern U.S. border as effectively as COVID-19 did back in 2020. This desperation to replicate the past underscores the contentious strategies in play to curb immigration. They're looking for anything. They're looking for any disease, any outbreak, and quite frankly, we just had our first case of bird flu in America in Louisiana. A man contracted bird flu from a group of birds. Quite frankly, they can state that these birds came from Mexico. These came from the south of the border, and we should close our border because there may be other people who are coming across the border with bird flu, which then will infect Americans, and then there'll be widespread pandemic all over again. So let's close the borders. And how can they do this? They'll do the same thing they did, Title 42, using that to close the border because of a health crisis. I know you guys are familiar with Title 42. This became very, very popular, how Donald Trump closed the borders using this particular title. And if you guys want to do research about Title 42, you can go over to uscode.house.gov. And the only thing you have to do is once you get there, as you see here, you go down to Title 42, and they have front matter. Let's see, let's hit this. Okay, I'm just kind of give you guys adjacent to this website, and it has all sorts of information you guys go and reference, okay? But a lot of this is in here about quarantine, sanitation. They even have certain names, leprosy, cancer, virus, and toxins. You just can go through this and find out how Title 42 can essentially be used to close the border in a national emergency. And again, as I stated, we just had a story out of Louisiana about the bird flu. So again, they can use these in order to close the border. So I believe these are important. These are very, very important. So as Trump's potential re-entrants, illegal immigrants are in a desperate rush to cross the U.S. Mexican border. The urgency of their journey is driven by fears of stricter policies and a harsher administration awaiting them if they don't make it before the change in office. So right now we have two different sorts of illegal immigrants, one crossing the U.S. border into Mexico, and those who are in Mexico trying to cross the U.S. border. Some are fearful that when ICE and border agents have the power by the again, given to them by Donald Trump in Title 42, possibly, that they'll be able to crack down legal immigrants. And so they're just going back home and they don't want to even deal with that sort of rhetoric altogether. While others say, no, I'm going to go ahead and try to get into America, get some sort of asylum, see if I can be protected by their own laws before President Donald Trump's coming to office and use their own laws, Constitution, Bill of Rights against them altogether. So again, these are some of the things. They have different illegal immigrant groups with different ideology about how they're going to either go back home or still seek refuge, or as I state, economic asylum in America. Now, there's been a lot going on with Bernie Sanders, okay, because Senator Bernie Sanders stated that he has basically launched a very fiery and fiery critique, claiming that H-1B visas, traditionally meant for high school occupations, are being misused to hire dog trainers, massage therapists, cooks, and English teachers. This misuse, according to Sanders, undermines the program's intent and impacts on American workers. Now, the last part, that it undermines the program's intent and impacts American workers, is true. But a lot of the H-1B visas that a lot of Americans are seeing are taking a lot of the tech jobs, okay? And I won't say necessarily say take. They're not taking these jobs away from Americans because, again, it is American businessmen that are poaching a lot of the H-1B visas, mostly from East Asia. So again, he has a point, but the whole dog trainers, massage therapists, I'm inclined to say most Americans are not looking for jobs like that. That don't seem like jobs unless you own the business that is really going to pay the bills. I don't think that's really going to pay the bills, Bernie Sanders. I'm not in agreement with that at all. Now, a Chinese scholar who masqueraded as a staunch democracy activist and friend to New York descendants have been exposed as a Chinese spy. This portrayal highlights the deepening running tensions and espionage activities, global calls for democracy. It seems like we're getting a lot more intel, a lot more information than we ever had before when it comes to China and people who may or may not be spies in America from Chinese origin. Again, we've never seen in the last 2 years this amount of free information and transparency. And again, I would like to allude that one, I believe last year was a year of truth and it continues to go on. And now we're going to have a lot more government transparency. So I think a lot of things are going to come out the woodwork. A lot of things are going to be unveiled. And this is good for the American people because we've been left in the dark. We've been literally left in the dark about a lot of the things when it comes to the American tax dollars and a lot of things that are happening in our government. So this is a good thing. Now, a federal judge has delivered a major blow to the Biden administration by nullifying new established protections for transgender students. The ruling argues that these protections infringe on teachers' rights, mostly focusing on the controversial requirements for educators to address students by their preferred pronouns. I agree with this. I'm glad that it's been overturned because most of these protections were dealing with minors under the age of 18. Okay, so they're not legal adults. And me being a traditionalist as I am, you was born a man, you was born a woman. And we're talking about minors. We're not talking about what adults identify as. You can identify whatever you want, but we're talking about the children. And they're putting that on the teachers to say who, they, them, oh, I'm non-binary, I'm this, I'm that. Again, you are a child and your mom told me you was born, or not even your mother, father, because a lot of people are getting sort of this liberal socialist sort of thing. So you was born as a boy, you was born as a girl. And now that this federal protection has been rolled back, now teachers had the freedom, like, it was about him or it was about her. We don't have to say, oh, it was them, it was they. Again, a lot of you may not agree to that, but I do. I do not believe, because children's frontal lobe has yet to develop, okay? I don't think most people's frontal lobe, because some scientists, I was reading some journals, I probably read too much, but nonetheless, I was reading some science journals that most people frontal lobe don't fully develop until the age of 24 or 25. Okay, that's why a lot of other cultures allow their children, allow their young adults to stay with them until the age of 24 or 26. This is one of the rules I've kind of instilled in my home, deal with a massive amount of research that you have up until the age of 26 to live with me. I'll, of course, pay for everything except your cell phone. You got to have a side gig or a small job to pay for that. But when it comes to food, housing, and everything within, I'll help support your goals and dreams as long as we have a plan going forward. These are something I do until the age of 26. After the age of 26, and both of my sons know, 26 in a day. That means I'm not putting you out on your birthday. I'm not even putting you out the day after. Before then, we have a contractual agreement on paper, making sure that we are clear on the terms that you can live here scot-free, eat the food, use the electricity, use the water, enjoy what I've built for you. But after 26 in a day, meaning the day after your birthday, by noon, you have to be gone. Now, you can leave before that all you want. I'm not holding you here, but that is one of the agreements. And believe me, people without telling this plan, all of them say, I wish I had that growing up. I wish I had that growing up. But most people say, I wish I had that growing up. You know, my kid, one of my sons went to college. He's already graduated. We have a 13-year-old. So he already know. I said, son, how long can you stay here, Dad? 26 in a day. He already knows. So again, I put that inside of his mindset. I put it inside of his mind frame so he can start to prepare. What is the ideology behind that? Let's take, for instance, he graduates high school at around 17, 18, and he goes for a 4-year school, and he is now 22 years of age, and he decided to go to grad school to get his graduate degree. So now he's 24. He has 2 years. 1 year he could, or 6 months, he can do an intern, or he can just start working based upon what his degree skills or what he obtained in college. But he has 2 years to save up a massive amount of money. He can only be making, let's take, for instance, $45,000 to $50,000 a year. Let's say he's making only $4,000 a month. Everything is being paid for except for your cell phone. So you guys can do the math. I've done the math many times with my sons and tell them, look how much money you will have. Staying with me until you're 26. And listen, I'm not encouraging you to leave. Again, you still have to abide by the rules of this home. You're still going to have chores. You're still going to have things to do. But for the most part, you're going to be a living adult making 40, 50, 80, 90, whatever amount of money they make. And you can save 80 to 90% of that. And instead of like how I did, getting out the home, moving into an apartment and renting, you can go and buy a small home. You can go and buy a medium-sized home and start to build equity. Okay, so you'll be better off. So when people talk about generational wealth, this is the generational wealth I'm speaking about, because I think this could be more profitable because it's going to teach them some key value skills that they're going to need to essentially survive and thrive in America. And what would easily be a comedic strip for satire, former President Trump reportedly mused the invading Greenland could lead to the shortest war in the world. Now, this bizarre statement has sparked both humor and concern over handling of international relations. It'd be very short, he said. We took the president-elect literally not seriously. Okay, we took him literally, but I don't think he was serious. And charted out how the U.S. military will far against Denmark, which recently boasted against the island security by financing 2 dog-sled patrols, okay? And not only that, Denmark says it has neglected Greenland defense for years, basically saying Greenland is unprotected. Because who would attack Greenland? Because, and this is coming from, I believe it's coming from Viking folklore. I don't know necessarily, but if you guys are familiar with Greenland and Iceland, for people to be confused about which land to go to, Greenland is more Iceland and Iceland is more Greenland. They did that for a particular reason. Now that everybody knows that, I don't really think it means anything, but of course with tradition and historical value, they're keeping the names. But now they're like, you know what? We've neglected their defense. And now that Trump has brought this up, and doesn't seem like he's joking around, but we didn't take it seriously, but we took it literally. It's about time that we increase the defense of Greenland. Interesting. So Canadian leaders are losing their patience and sense of humor over repeated comments by Trump suggesting that Canada become the 51st state. This remark has stirred up diplomatic discomfort, highlighting the tense moments and peculiar positions that characterize Trump's political style. And they're like, you know what? At first we thought this was a joke, but it seems like Trump is very, very serious. And I can definitely tell you why they believe that. Because Trump, in a news briefing, was asked questions about some of his remarks, and a lot of people didn't like what he had to say. Okay, a lot of people didn't like what he had to say, but I didn't think it was funny. I thought he was somewhat serious in the first place. I thought maybe he had ulterior motives behind that, but I didn't think Trump was joking at all. There's not a lot of things he jokes about. If you guys are familiar with that, there's not a lot of things that Donald Trump jokes about, and people are beginning to take him very, very serious. And what I mean by that is on an international stage. And I believe I played this last night, but I just want you guys to hear just a little bit of it. I won't play it in its entirety. Now, if you want to hear it in its entirety, listen to the broadcast last night where I did, but listen in on just a couple of minutes of this.
Canada, 51st state of the United States. The leader of the Conservative Party in Canada said, under no circumstance will it ever be the 51st state.
Maybe he won't win, but maybe he will. I don't care.
You had suggested.
Listen, I don't care what he says.
But Mr. Lopez, you said you were considering military force to acquire Panama and Greenland. Are you also considering military force to annex and acquire Canada?
No, economic force, because Canada and the United States, that would really be something. You get rid of that artificially drawn line, and you take a look at what that looks like, and it would also be much better for national security. Don't forget, we basically protect Canada. But here's the problem with Canada. So many friends up there. I love the Canadian people. They're great. But we're spending hundreds of billions a year to protect it. We're spending hundreds of billions a year to take care of Canada. We lose in trade deficits. We're losing massive. We don't need their cars. You know, they make 20% of our cars. We don't need that. I'd rather make them in Detroit. We don't need the cars. We don't need their lumber. We have massive fields of lumber. We don't need their lumber. We have to unrestrict them because stupid people put, restrictions on, but I can do that with an executive order. We don't need anything they have. We don't need their dairy products. We have more than they have. We don't need anything. So why are we losing $200 billion a year and more to protect Canada? And I said that to, as I called him, Governor Trudeau. I said, listen, what would happen if we didn't subsidize you, if we didn't, because we give them a lot of money. We help them. As an example, we're buying icebreakers, and Canada wants to join us in the buying of icebreakers. I said, we don't really want to have a partner in the buying of icebreakers. We don't need a partner. But no right. Nope. No right. Here's what we have. We have a right not to help them with their financial difficulties because we owe $36 trillion too. We're going to start knocking it out pretty fast, but we're going to be able to do it because of energy and other things. But no right. No right. But why are we supporting a country, 200 billion plus a year? Our military is at their disposal. All of these other things, they should be a state. That's why I told Trudeau when he came down, I said, what would happen if we didn't do it? He said Canada would dissolve.
Those are the words of the 47th president, President-elect Donald Trump. And again, to his point, a lot of the information that he's revealing, I know a lot of Americans did not know that we were basically securing Canada as well as giving them over $200 billion a year. And they don't really take any imports, okay, from America, not at the same rate that we're taking imports and exports from them. So nonetheless, I'm inclined to agree until I find out more information. But thank you guys for joining me here this morning. Please hit that subscribe button, hit the likes up button. You guys have a great and wonderful morning. This is Black Logic.